Hope will arise out of the ashes of our past broken relationships, fractured families, and personal struggles. Come walk a mile with me as we allow Jesus to clean out the mess and organize the rest. Welcome to the Bridging Broken to Breakthrough podcast. I am your host, Maria Wingard. Grab your shoes, lace them up as we start strolling through this week's episode. Continuing in the Offendable Me series, this is Recovery Part 2. The world's ways are so attractive, yet will take our soul. It's the moment on the lips, forever on the hips, decadent dessert, seductive thinking we eat up without a second thought of consequences. So, who really pays for the I deserve this dessert thinking? Satan may foot the bill to get you hooked, but ultimately it's your hips that forever bear the weight. Without proper daily diligence, our wounds grow faster than the waist of an emotional eater who is unable to stop their consumption. We hide our addiction to bitterness and offense with layered, baggy shirt excuses, believing that no one really sees just how big we've grown. It's time for the radical cutting away of dead things. In the middle of cutting circumstances, we must remind ourselves that beauty exists and is created from cut things. So bend down low to retrieve the fallen flowers dropped during the pruning, as they are a promise of multiplied blooms to come in the next season. Remember to let go of who and what God prunes off of you, to arrange a bouquet reflecting your promise of good to come. Learn to enjoy the cut things, for they speak of beauty and promise. Corrie ten Boom again speaks wisdom to friendships ending badly and definitely doesn't Taylor Swift things. Quote, I recall the time some 15 years ago when Christian friends whom I loved and trusted did something which hurt me. You would have thought that, having forgiven the Nazi guard, this would have been child's play. It wasn't. For weeks I seethed inside, but at last I asked God again to work his miracle in me. Again, it happened. First the cold-blooded decision, then the flood of joy and peace. I had forgiven my friends. I was restored to my Father. Then, why was I suddenly awake in the middle of the night, hashing over the whole affair again? My friends, I thought, people I loved. If it had been strangers, I wouldn't have minded so. So I sat up and switched on the light. Father, I thought, it was all forgiven. Please help me do this. And the next night I woke up again. They had talked so sweetly too. Never a hint of what they were planning. Father, I cried in alarm, help me. His help came in the form of a kindly Lutheran pastor to whom I confessed my failure after 2 sleepless weeks. Up in the church tower, he said, nodding out the window, is a bell which is rung by the pulling on a rope. But you know what? After the sexton lets go of the rope, the bell keeps on swinging. First ding, then dong, slower and slower, until there's a final dong and it stops. I believe the same thing is true of forgiveness. When we forgive someone, we take our hand off the rope. But if we've been tugging at our grievances for a long time, we mustn't be surprised if the old angry thoughts keep coming for a while. They're just the ding-dongs of the old bell slowing down. And so it proved to be. There were a few more midnight reverberations, a couple of dings when the subject came up in my conversation, but the force, which was my willingness in the matter, had gone out of them. They came less and less often and at last stopped altogether. And so I discovered another secret to forgiveness, that we can trust God not only above our emotions, but also above our thoughts. End quote. Of course, There's always a deeper work the Lord wishes to do in us. And Corrie ten Boom continues to teach as she walked through the finishing part of this process. Quote, I have it in black and white, she says to the Lutheran pastor. I saved all of their letters, and I can show you where. Aren't you the one whose sins are forgiven in the bottom of the sea, he said? And are the sins of your friends etched in black and white? Forgive us our trespasses, Jesus taught us to pray, as we forgive those who trespass against us. In the ashes of those letters, I was seeing yet another facet of his mercy. End quote. In a world full of Swifties, let's be a ten Boom. Let's talk about the issues in the redemptive light of Jesus Christ and how he changed our heart through life's inflicted atrocities. How can we reflect Jesus in what was done to us? Or am I simply screaming, bad blood, look what they made me do? Victimization, while appearing legit, is never the right path. One by one, I will choose to pick up these cut flowers to decorate my life's vase. I will remember pruning is God's goodness towards me. I am grateful you decided to walk a mile with me, your host, Maria Wingard, on the Bridging Broken to Breakthrough podcast. I pray that through our conversation, Jesus reveals how he is bridging broken to breakthrough as we stroll through another mile in this journey called life. Hope will arise if you let him in your life today. To listen to past episodes or find out more, please visit hopewillarise.com.